So you go, are you guys dating or are you married at the time?
Married.
Okay, so you go home and you're like, Alec, I know you're in nursing school, and I know this is the chosen path that you've done, and I know you've taken out student loans to do this, but skirt, I think there's a better opportunity here. And then you go to your boss and you say, hey, I need you to make a position for my husband. That's how that went down?
Yes, basically. That's exactly what happened.
If you have ever considered going into business with your spouse or partner, this episode is for you. We have elite agency owners, Kathy and Alic Hitchcock on, and they're going to be talking about how they navigate life, how they navigate raising a family, how they navigate business and being business partners and married and what that looks like. They're also going to be sharing what they are currently doing to achieve success in the current industry that we are experiencing. So with that being said, let's start the show. Hey, welcome to the Insurance Buzz. We are your hosts, Michael and Courtney Weaver, and today we have two special guests with us, Kathy and Alic Hitchcock. What's going on, guys?
Just excited to be here. Thank you so much for having us. We have been excited for a while. We've had this scheduled for a while, so we're happy to finally be here with you.
Well, we've already been together once. So when we were planning this, we had no idea that we would somehow land together at a Buffalo Bills and Chiefs game. We were placed right in front of each other in the stadium. Like, the moment I came running down and I see you guys, I'm like, hey, what's up? Like, what are the odds? So we've actually already met in person, which is not usually how this goes, but what a treat. So we're so excited to connect with you guys to talk more about insurance, especially as a married couple. So you guys have been in business. You've been in the insurance game since 2012. How long have you been married?
15 years.
Okay. All right.
I just know the year. So, 15 years now.
Yeah.
So
I have
15
to
years.
do finger math when it comes to these things.
All right,
Okay.
so you've been married for 15 years, in insurance for 12, and you've owned your business or agency together for the last 10.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I got to start there because there are so many times people come up to us and they're like, okay, I want to work with my spouse, or I could never work with my spouse. Tell me more about that. So I would love to know who was in insurance that brought the other person in, and what was the conversation like when you said, okay, we're going to do this business together.
Okay, so I'll start off by saying that I had probably 4 or 5 family members in insurance. I am, by some way or another, a 4th generation insurance agent. And I had thought insurance might not be my thing. It might be boring. I actually did hair for 6 years. I was like, I wanted to do creative. I wanted to, do something less desk jobby. And I got into doing hair, and I realized this is not my jam. So I messaged a person who was at the time in my family, and I reached out and I said, I think I want to try insurance, if you have any availability. And so I came on board as completely in sales, completely no service at all. And she spent about a month training me, and within my first month out the gate, I think I had done pretty good. I'd done pretty well. And I was having all these conversations about, obviously, vehicles, cars, and people love to talk about their cars. And so at the time, Alec was going to school for nursing. He was going to be a nurse. He was in nursing school. And he was in the thick of it. And I just remember thinking, I feel like he would like this better. And so I told him, I said, look, I think you would enjoy these conversations, because Alec is a people person. He's very networky. He's very much thrives talking to people, conversating with people, and he loves vehicles. He loves talking about cars. And so I thought, this has got to be more up your alley than nursing. So I talked to my boss at the time, and I said, can we make a spot for him because I just don't feel like
Whoa. Hold on. So you go, are you guys dating or are you married at the time?
married.
Okay, so you go home and you're like, Alec, I know you're in nursing school, and I know this is the chosen path that you've done, and I know you've taken out student loans to do this, but I think there's a better opportunity here. And then you go to your boss and you say, hey, I need you to make a position for my husband. That's how that went down?
Yes,
Basically.
that's exactly what happened.
Well,
And
if
then I
there's
started
any
my
doubt
career.
on why you're successful in sales, that would be it. You just assumed all of it. You know what? I'm just going to completely change everything that's happening around here.
Yes.
And this is what's okay.
So Alec,
much.
what did you say? You're like, let's try it, let's do it.
I was like, sure, let's do it. Yeah.
What?
I
So
mean, yeah.
how do you make that switch in your brain though? On a serious note, you've committed to going to nursing school and you think that this is your path. Was there any kind of doubt? Like, how do you make that shift of completely changing your career?
Well, I guess it had gotten to the point where I'd done it for a while, and being a stereotypical guy, I guess there were a few classes that I retook, just to do better on grades. And I was like, you know what? This sounds like she said, I love vehicles. I like talking to people. I'm like, you know what? I'm kind of burnt out, and let's give it a shot. And seeing her family and the success that they had, the quote unquote freedom, that you get of owning your own business and being in that kind of realm, that intrigued me. And I was like, well, let's give it a shot.
I love that you bring that up and you say the freedom and the burnout, because I know that a lot of our listeners, if they're not going through that transition from maybe they're producer to agent, or maybe they're just trying to decide, is insurance still for me? Or maybe they're wanting to get into insurance. I think we all can relate to that burnout, that at some point we have to make a different choice. So I love that you're talking about going from nursing into insurance, and the reason being burnout and wanting freedom.
Yeah. And that's a big change too, to go from like hands-on, I'm going to shoot you with a needle, blood's going to squirt
Yeah, I
out, to
immediately
hey
have a blood
man,
vision,
let's talk
too.
about these. Let's talk about this car insurance, baby.
And that was that was kind of part of the decision too, is knowing that once he got through nursing school, it was going to be working on holidays, working on weekends. He was working at the hospital when we did all this. He was working like kind of as a nurse assistant when he was in school. And I was pregnant, and I remember I was pregnant. I would go to bed, but he would be working the overnight shift, and I would go to bed thinking, oh my gosh, what if I go in labor? And so our baby was probably 6 months old when we made this kind of hop into insurance. And it, at that point, was more of a family decision on what we want our schedule to look like and what we want our capabilities with our one son at the time to be able to spend time with him. And it was just very clear to us that if we can do something that we enjoy, and at that time work kind of a 9 to 5, doing it, not being expected to work weekends and evenings, then that was kind of the path we were inevitably going to take for family reasons anyways. And it ended up being the best decision that we've ever made, because like he said, we had several members of our family in insurance, and they just seemed very balanced, very they had a lot of freedom. They were able to kind of just do what they wanted in life and with their family and, with their schedule. And so the upside of it outweighed what, in our opinion, kind of what we were leaving behind.
Yeah, that potential.
Absolutely. So, and I want to get to your all success, because you've been wildly successful. I think I just saw you make a post a couple months ago that you're top 10 in the company, or maybe it was a region. So either way, you've been wildly successful. But before I get into the production, I want to get into because working together is not easy. Owning a business is not easy. There's going to be certain things that we've had to work through communication, through setting up like certain boundaries. And so I would pose that question to you all. Like, maybe you talk about work all the time. I have no idea. But if you don't talk about work all the time, what have you done to make sure that, hey, when we're at work, we're at work. When we're at home, we're at home. Like, do you balance the two? Is there a separation of the two? Or is it just we're all work all the time?
That's hard.
I would say I am always at work in my mind, but Alic does a lot better than me at harmonizing the two. And we have 3 sons, and they are 12, 8, and 4. And they are in sports, and they are doing extracurricular activities. And when we're not at work, we are still just trying to churn and burn the household and the family. It is this is a season of life that I know we will look back on and miss very much, and so I really try to soak it in. But it's a lot, running a business, being married, running a family, and trying to do it all, because I'm very type A personality, and so anything I do, I just want to do it the best, better than anybody, and so we try very hard to balance it all. We don't miss one. I think one rule that we have always just made sure that we kept at the forefront is we will not miss anything. Like, the family comes first no matter what, and if we're just not going to miss anything. So we take turns with different roles in the business. If something is kind of coming to the forefront and it's more of his specialty, then he will take the lead and try to, really, I'll just be back kind of running the business. If it's something that I have more of a specialty in, then I'll take the lead on whatever the priority is in that moment, and then he'll sit back and a lot of times it's, being at home while the other one's at work. And a lot of times it's working from home or balancing childcare and school and things like that. But we've always made it work, and I give Alic a lot of the credit for that because I'm extremely type A. I like to have routine. I like to have schedule. I like to know what's going on, what we're doing, what the week looks like. Control. And Alic is very go with the flow, just like we were talking about with, completely leaving nursing school and just hopping into insurance. He's a very relaxed, just I'm here, what do I need to do kind of personality, and that has helped a lot.
I love hearing this because a lot of times when I'm talking to couples that are working together, they're still trying to figure out what their role is, not just within the business, but also within the relationship and also at home. So I'm curious, when you're talking about specialties, let's go through high level in the day-to-day operations, who's responsible for what between you two?
Okay. So I would say that I handle more of the running of the business, operational, data, marketing, numbers, the kind of how the org chart is going to work, because at this moment we're in the midst of actually purchasing another agency. So on January 1st, we're going to be doubling in size. And so right now that's taken a lot of work on the end of what's marketing going to be looking like. What are we kind of ramping up for here? What is staffing going to look like? Where is everyone going to be? What do we need to hire? Things like that. And Alic is more in the mix. Like, I can, say, hey, so-and-so's a little low on their sales this month. Can you listen to a few of their calls and go coach them? Just see if we can maybe pick up a pattern here. And he'll do that. Or if, technology is the thing that we love it and we hate it all at the same time. And so anytime there's a technical problem going on at the office, he's the one dissecting and figuring that out. And so he's more of the what needs to be done right now, and I'm more of the what needs to be done to get here kind of thing, I guess you would say.
Yep.
I love that. So a lot of times I will break it down like who's in charge of people and who's in charge of profit. Because usually somebody's running, and you said it beautifully, like the day-to-day, what needs to happen right now, the people, or sometimes that becomes the things that nobody wants to do, the tech, the trash, whatever that is. And then the profit is usually the strategy, where are we going, driving the bus forward. So I love how you broke that down. Communication-wise, who's the boss at work and who's the boss at home?
I would say
That's like every relationship. Come on.
No,
Come on.
I
It's
would
like,
say, Alec,
what's hers
I
is
would
what's...
disagree with that. I would actually say that at work, I'm definitely, I want things a certain way. I kind of can visualize how things need to be. But at home, Alec is very much kind of the leader of the household. And he came from a family with 4 siblings. So when the kids are arguing, it's not they're playing, they're wrestling, they're breaking windows, they're jumping off the Christmas tree, they're flipping around everywhere. And he's like, yeah, I mean, this is life. And I'm like, Alec, I'm getting overstimulated because I grew up as an only child, and if someone's fighting over a toy, I don't know who gets the toy. I don't know. Just somebody figure it out. And he just is a lot more, I don't know if I want to use the word domesticated, but that's the word that comes to mind. Like,
I would say thrive in chaos.
Yeah, but you figure out dinner. He handles dinner every night. I'll be tucked away working on something on my laptop, and I don't want to make it sound like I'm never with the family. I certainly don't want to make it sound like that, but he's able to run the household in a little bit more of an organized way. Whereas I'm like, okay, y'all just fight. We'll see who wins. I don't know, And then at work, I'm like, no, there has to be a cadence here.
Well, you have 3 boys too. So, I mean, that's like having a basketball team. I mean, like they're going all the time. I asked that question about the boss, not to start anything between any couple that's listening to this or between you guys, but it becomes confusing if you have too many bosses. And your team needs to know, because if mom and dad don't agree, they need to know, who am I listening to here? So I asked that question because the same is true at home.
Yeah.
Like, you can't go to mom and mom say one thing and then go to dad and dad say another, because then that becomes confusing to the kids, but it also becomes confusing to the team. So I said that to maybe start a little bit of a fight. No, I'm kidding.
That's one thing we try really hard to do is back each other up.
And I'll say this too on something you said earlier, Courtney, about people and profit. I'll throw another one out there, which is process. And I am like a process Nazi. And so I love a good process. I love creating processes. And that's kind of how we do it at work is, it doesn't come down to, well, Kathy wants me to do it this way. Alec told me to do it this way. It's what is our process? What does the handbook say? What does the sales script tell you to do? Did you do it this way? What is the talk path? It's all, and that way there's no confusion and no one has to get differing answers. It's the process. The process is what is going to happen. And it's kind of the same at home, but not necessarily process-wise, but just, we have certain rules around the house. Mm-hmm. Yes, you can do this on certain terms. No, you cannot ever do this, that kind of thing. And that way but the boys do try to sneak it in there and ask us.
Our 12-year-old, man, he's very intelligent, just like, and not hard-headed, but strong-willed.
Persuasive. persuasive
And
to
I'm like,
try
just
to
do what I said. Don't worry about
very
the
hard-headed.
reason.
We've
Just
got
do
a
it.
salesman on our hands for sure. So I'm already like, okay, let's talk about insurance for a little bit. Let's talk about business for a little bit. That way, when the time comes, you're ready.
He loves watching Shark Tank. Business.
I love it.
It's-
So let's get into some business then. So 2024, you guys are crushing. The industry's been a little wonky the last 18 to 24 months. You guys just continue to crush. I watch you. We're big fans over here, like at a distance. So I would love to know, and I know you hit on something like you feel like something that's really helped with your production is consistently hiring great people. And so I would love to know what you've learned throughout the years of, okay, I finally feel like I've got a really great hiring process where I'm finding great people, I'm getting them onboarded, we're developing an awesome culture. Like, kind of walk me through like what you've learned throughout the years and where you're at now and why you think it's working so well.
Yeah, so this has been a lot of hit and miss and try again, and listening to a lot of mentors in the space to kind of narrow down what works for us. And we still don't handle it perfectly, but it works out well for the way we run things. And so we will post ads, and one thing that I look for as I'm looking through resumes, as a lot of agents probably do, is I need them to have consistently been at a job for, I like to see 2 to 3 years. I love for them to have been there longer, but anybody who has been at their job for, really less than a year and a half,
or several jobs recently.
yeah, if they've job hopped, I kind of just dismiss that resume, honestly. I love to see upward trajectory within their job. So I love to see that they've moved up and had promotions while they've been there. But yeah, like Alex said, if there have been gaps in the resume, and I will excuse the COVID year, like if there was a gap in that time, I can't really speak to that. But like I said, 2 to 3 years, no gaps, went straight from one job to the next. And I like to see a really, I don't read through the resumes super closely, but I need them to be able to, capitalize the name of their company on their resume and things like that. So then we call and we reach out to them on the spot. We do not schedule it ahead of time, and we do a phone interview on the spot. Hey, this is Kathy. You applied for a job that we have posted. I wanted to see if you had just about 5 or 10 minutes for us to just, quickly talk to you about a few things about the position. And then we have a phone script that we go through, and we ask them certain questions that we have narrowed down to where we can tell if they're going to be a good fit to kind of move on in our process or not. So, we'll ask them, what has you looking for a new job? What are you looking for in your next position? What motivates you to want to be moving into maybe a little bit better of a position? And I'll tell you, the funny thing that weeds people out is our very last question is, are you able to pass a background check? And a lot of people will say no, and we have to move on because we're running 2 background checks, and so we go based on what they're. We'll ask them also in that phone interview, what do you need to make? What are you looking to make? What's your salary requirements? If they tell us $11, $12, $13, $14 an hour is good with me, they're not going to be the right fit. We need somebody who wants to and needs to make money. And we're talking about in a sales position. So then if they do well on that phone interview, then we send them a personality assessment, and we tell them you've got 24 hours to take this assessment. And so we're kind of putting them on the spot to, I think you've talked about this before, Michael, but basically put them through a couple hurdles before you hire them. So this is kind of kind of one of those as well. So we give them 24 hours. And if they haven't completed it in 24 hours, we move on. If they took 36 hours to complete it, it doesn't matter if it's the best looking personality assessment we've ever had. They're gone. They didn't follow the rule. And so we're looking for certain things on that personality assessment, and we use ideal traits. I know you've spoke with Jeff Sofai and Kevin Milnarek before, but we have found that we know what we're looking for on the ideal traits assessment. We need a good problem solver. We need somebody that can follow directions, and we need them to have high motivation and high persuasion skills. And so they basically have to pass that personality assessment to be called in for a face-to-face interview. And then in the face-to-face interview, honestly, I don't care what questions I ask. I just want to get to know them. And I just want to, by the end of the interview, I want to feel like, look, would I have fun going to dinner with this person? If we went out for dinner and they were within our team, or it was just me and Alec and this person going out for dinner, is it going to be awkward? Are they going to fit in? Do they fit our culture, kind of the way that we live and work and things like that? And then, now, this is one thing we do struggle with in the interview, is we have tried to find ways to tell each other yes, no, on the spot. Do we hire them on the spot? Do we not? And we don't have our signal down yet. And I know that sounds so
You need
crazy.
like a
No!
code. You
Okay.
need like a code word.
Okay, so
Yes.
I am so glad that you were bringing this up. Okay, I'm gonna interrupt the podcast boop, boop, and talk about signals real quick. Okay, so we go through this same process of what's the signal. Okay, because so much of our communication happens like this, to where we're having to communicate to each other without actually communicating, because we're doing a podcast or we're in a meeting or whatever. And so like some of our practice came from boating, like wakeboarding. So we have like all of these freaking hand signals that we can do to each other. We write notes. So if you're watching the podcast right now, you can't see our paper, but Michael and I will write notes to each other on when we're done.
You're giving away our secrets
when
now.
we have
The
questions.
podcast has helped us be 10 times better communicators. Like sometimes we can just look at just like you guys know, like I'm sure like you interview enough people, you'll figure this out. Like you give it just a certain look and it's like interview's over, not a good fit. Like
It's like parenting, though. You look at each other and you're like, no, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't hire this person on the spot. Like, there's so much that you learn in business together
That's
on
so good.
how communication is not just verbal communication. Like,
No,
you have to
yeah.
learn, like,
You gotta
what's
read
the signal?
minds. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, my
And
God.
I love
Do
that
it.
you guys are
I love that you're bringing
interviewing.
this
I
up.
love that you guys interview together too, because I'm a big believer that like 2 sets of ears, 2 sets of eyes
Yeah.
are better than one. And sometimes I've found that like I can start to really enjoy somebody, and then they might throw up a red flag that kind of I'm just like dismissed because whatever, I'm enjoying the conversation, and Court's like, "Yo, did you catch that in
Same.
an interview?"
Yeah.
Same. We will get out of that interview, and Alec will be like, "Did you not see me doing a thumbs up?" And I'm like, "Alec, did you not hear them say this, this, or whatever?" No. When did they say that? I'm like,
Yeah.
Not that oblivious.
or
Yeah.
I'll be
Well,
like, I think I need
hey,
to check their social media.
I think
out a little
I think me
more.
and Alec are a lot alike. We like to see the good in people, you know.
Yeah.
We talk to people. And it's just like, yeah, this is great. You guys are like, shit, no. Did you hear that?
I think a lot of that's just your confirmation bias. You've spent more time with them than we
True.
have usually, and you're like, yeah, I think they're a great person.
Hey,
I'm like,
who's
I don't
the
think so.
easiest person to sell? A
salesman.
salesperson. All right.
Yes.
Like, you know what? Like,
Oh my gosh.
So, all right, but you said a couple things. I want to go back. So I love that you're looking for 2 to 3 years of work history. As I find agents like will hire people that have been in and out of jobs consistently, and then they don't work out, and it's like, well, did you think the history was going to change at all? Like this guy or gal has a history of like only being employed for 2 to 3 months at a time. Like that's probably not going to change just because you think you run the greatest business in the world.
Okay, but I have a question. I love that you brought that up. How much time do you spend on resumes or the hiring process? Is it a daily thing? Is it a weekly thing? Tell me what that looks like. Because you said you're looking at resumes. I want to know what that looks like.
Nowhere near as much as we need to. We have, and this is kind of and I think this is important to talk about your struggles as much as you talk about your successes. That's, where I've learned a lot is when folks would come forward and talk about their struggles. And this is a struggle for us right now, is time management within the business and juggling, raising our boys at the same time. So we're not always a 40-hour-a-weeker at work. A lot of times we're just working late, or, it might be way after business hours, and you can't really reach out to folks during that time. So we have, at this point in our business, hired a sales manager. And I feel like we've just now made it to that point that we need one. And she actually starts this week. And so she's going to be I'm going to be training her on the process that we use. And she's going to be taking a lot of this off of us. But we get backed up easily because what we have found, and I'm sure when you post an ad and somebody responds, you got to call them. Mm-hmm. And then you got to get them in for the interview, or else they've moved on. And so sometimes this is a struggle that we have found. If we cannot, although I agree wholeheartedly with someone always having an ad up 24/7, we don't have the capacity right now to be looking through the amount of resumes that come in and calling through those. Now, granted, we'll get a lot more resumes than we actually call. And that's another thing that I think we have tried to do is set our ad up to where it only attracts people who are maybe a fit for a hardcore sales position.
Yep.
But that is something that we struggle with, is the time management to go through all those resumes and call them so quickly and get them in for the interview so quickly, because our schedule right now is kind of chaos.
So go ahead.
I love that you're first of all talking about that, because I agree. I think you learn way more when you're getting L's than when you're getting wins. I think there's more to take from a struggle than there is from a success. But to your point, I think sales, recruiting, and leads should always be outsourced.
Yes.
Because there are certain things that only you can do in your agency when it comes to looking at numbers, looking at people, motivating, the infrastructure of that you can't outsource. I think anything that you can outsource at the point that you can do it needs to be done.
Yep. So two trains of thought right here. So you said it earlier. We have talked about hurdles before hiring. We've done a podcast on this, and this is through years of our experience of hiring as well. That's something we implemented about 2 years ago that's worked really well. Because I always did the phone interview first, but we changed it now to where we will actually have them send us a 1-minute video of themselves, and that eliminated like 80% of the resumes that were being sent to us. So that can also help like your sales manager if you guys are looking for another hurdle. That was really great for us. And then what we would do is we'd actually throw them into a group interview to see out of like the 10 best people, the 3 or 4 we like the most. Then we'd get on a phone interview with them and be like, and ask the questions that you're doing. So not trying to tell you what to do, but just an idea that can help. And then from a sales management standpoint, I happen to know a guy that has a pretty cool platform that can help your sales manager be better at what they do. Mm-hmm. It's like Weaver Sales Academy. I don't know if you've ever heard of it or not, but
oh yeah, that guy. Oh yeah.
Oh, I'm just joking with you.
It's a whole sales school. Right. It's not just a platform. It's a whole freaking school, man.
It's a lifestyle, Michael.
It is a lifestyle. I do have hats made, so we should get jackets.
But with the sales, yeah. I know I could talk about Weaver Sales Academy all day long, but I am curious. The sales manager, so are they going to take over what Courtney just said? Are they going to take over the recruiting, the sales training, and then we also talked about leads, but are they going to help you with the recruiting and sales training and sales management of the team? Is that basically what that position is going to do?
Yeah, she's going to basically be everything that you just said, and that's going to be a full-time thing, really, because, again, with struggling with time and the amount of time that we're in the business, working on the business during business hours is limited. And so she can be there, and we have a script, like a checklist for our sales calls. I'm sure Weaver Sales Academy probably has something very similar, but when we're listening to
Oh yeah,
I'll share
we're
it.
online school over here. All right. So all right. So let's get back to two questions. Did you promote within or did you bring from outside?
Brought from outside.
We had to hire from outside, and we had a few meetings within our organization and said, we're looking to do this within the next 6 months, 12 months. You know, if anyone feels that they would love to see themselves go into a position like this, here's what we would want to be seeing. We would want to know if you would like to have management, you know, or leadership responsibilities. And it did not feel that anyone was, because that's a whole nother beast is leadership and management. And I think they just wanted to come in, do their best at sales, and then go home. And so, and that's okay. So we went for someone who was looking for that.
I think that is the best way to do it. Honestly.
Really?
Yes, because when it's a hard transition to take somebody. A lot of times we take our top performing sales producer and we say, you are now the sales manager. And just like you said, those are completely different beasts. Those are different skill sets, expectations. That's a different job. And I love how you actually took it to the team before you were preparing to hire. So if you're listening right now and you're in the process of maybe thinking about a person, offer it to the whole team and say, this is what we're looking for, just like Kathy and Alic did. Lay out, you know, the responsibilities. This is the expectations, and see who actually has
see if that person even
interest.
came forward.
Yeah, that person might be like, no, I'm fine with my 100 apps a month, making 6 figures a year, doing exactly what I need to do,
And even
day
if they're
in and day out.
and a lot of the times the best managers are your middle of the road salespeople. But even if you give it, I actually have never heard of this approach. I love it, which is why we're talking about it right now. When you present it to the team, if nobody comes to you, you automatically know the leadership's not going to be there anyways. Right. So we have to go out and find somebody that wants that title. If they don't have enough courage to come to the table and be like, I'd really be interested in this position, they're definitely not going to have leadership characteristics to take your agency to the next level. I love that. So I know we cut you off earlier when we got to so you did the in-person interview where you're like, hey, can we even be around these people for 8 hours a day? Like, are they cool? What happens after that?
So then the very last hurdle, unless we both know,
unless she sees my thumbs up,
and I never do. But
is it like the gladiator, like thumbs down,
it's
head off, thumbs up, part of the team?
Oh, got it. It's under the arm.
I don't know. He'll say, did you not see? I was doing it. And I'm like, I did not. Because you feel weird when somebody's sitting right in front of you to turn to the person that's not talking, you know? And so I don't pay much attention, but
I'm going to start knocking over my coffee cup.
That should be your signal.
Yeah. We used to have
Twice.
a desk with drawers, and we had a business card. And if the business card was face up, then we were both on board, or we would turn the business card upside down if one of us wasn't. And now our table is just a tabletop with no drawers or anything, so we can't do that. So now we need to figure out a new thing.
You know, it's almost like if an interview is going bad, you got to use one of the Midwest, like, welp, I got to go jump on this call real fast, Kathy. I'll see you in a little bit. That's like
exactly.
over.
It's not the Southern goodbye. It's not, all right, well, let's talk
No,
to
you don't linger.
later. And it's not that. So, yeah, I do. I'll say, well, look, we're back to back with interviews right now. We got one coming in, one going out, one coming in, going good. Thank you for coming in. It was real nice to meet you. And so
that's when I know her opinion at that point.
Yeah, I'm done.
How she closes it, I'm like,
and how long? And then
all right, there we go.
Our folks will see them walk by and they'll be like, that was a short one. But no, the very end, if we're kind of still not sure, is we'll just tell them, hey, look, we want to be respectful of your time, and we definitely are, we know that you're in the search for the perfect new position, and so I want to give you 24 hours to think about everything that we've talked about today, and if you do want to be considered for the position moving forward, then just shoot me an email and I'll give them my business card. I'll say, just shoot me an email and let me know. But sometimes people leave here and they realize it really wasn't what they were looking for, and that's okay. That's totally fine. They just don't want to tell us in person. And so if that's the case and we don't hear from you, then we wish you well on your, on your job search. And then you'd be surprised a lot. A lot of people who act very, very interested at the interview table will not interview. And so I'm glad we didn't offer them the job on the spot, because it would have been a no-show.
Yeah.
But we'll hire, another thing I forgot to mention is we'll hire unlicensed people. And we tell them, it's okay if you haven't been in sales. It's okay if you haven't been in insurance. It's okay if you're not licensed. We're going to train you on all of that. And so I know a lot of people only hire experienced, licensed, but we're okay either way. So, but anyway, that's it. That's our process with interviewing, and then bringing on, folks that we feel like are a good fit for our office.
So you said something that I just want to reiterate right here, because I think it's really important. Even if it's the best candidate in the world, you think it's your next A player, your next rock star, the person that's going to come in and be a Century Club, you're making them actually follow up with you, which I love, because if they don't follow up with you, they're not going to be able to follow up with prospects, man. Like, I love it. I freaking love it. And that's why I hit on it. I always had the same rule in my agency too. Like, anytime we hire somebody, we're always, hey, if you don't hear from me, you follow up. If they don't follow up, I sure as shit ain't following up. So let's roll.
Yeah, that's a great point. And another thing to that I kind of judge on is how quickly did they email me. Because what I like is for somebody to go to their car and get out their phone and type me an email. Hey, I really enjoyed the interview. I'm super anxious to get started. I think I'd be a great candidate. But if they tarry about it, then it tells me they might be a little unsure if they couldn't take 2 or 3 minutes to type an email. And I don't go one way or the other over that, but it is something that I look at.
Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap up, since one married couple to another married couple, I'm not going to ask you what the best piece of advice, because I feel like that's like a Christmas present that can be unwrapped day in and day out and can change day by day. But what is something that you would never do in your business as a married couple? What's a hard, non-negotiable, we do not do this?
That's a good question.
I would say one of the biggest things is not do the right thing, meaning even if you make a mistake, just own up to it. Just, whatever it is. Like, don't tell a story. Don't lie about it. Whoever it is, whether it's either one of us or somebody that works with us, it's like, just own up to it. I would rather you tell me you messed up, us fix it, and then not happen again, versus you tell me and you tell me a lie and then.
Did you mean like in the office or amongst each other?
Doesn't matter. Either way.
Because I will even kind of piggyback on that. I think one thing that we're very big on is integrity, and it doesn't matter. We're just always going to do the right thing by our employees and by our customers. And that has not always, put the sales where they needed to be, or the staffing where it needed to be, or there's a million other ways that doing the right thing is going to kick you back in some way or another. But we are just really firm on integrity, and we're just going to do the right thing by people, because we have, even in times where we have had a situation where maybe it was an employee matter and we weren't on the same page or something like that. The question we always ask ourselves, what's best for this person? Not us, not the agency, but what's best for this particular person. And I think that's probably what we just always want to just do the right thing by people. And when we both have that common goal, it makes the decisions that we make a lot easier, because it's not about us. It's just not ever going to be about us. It's going to be about what's best for others.
I love that. Same team.
Same team. Integrity is also my core value. So I hear and see what you're thinking and saying. So thank you guys, man. Kathy, Alic, this has been fantastic. We appreciate you guys coming on, talking shop. This has just been a lot of fun. So if somebody wanted to support you guys, follow you, maybe even potentially work with you, what would be the best way for them to do that?
Email. My email is Kathy.Hitchcock at allstate.com. Alex with a K. Alex is A Hitchcock at allstate.com. And then any social media, Kathy Hitchcock, Alic Hitchcock on Facebook, or I'm KHitch24 on Instagram. We've got to do better on social media. That's one thing that we're going to do better on in 2025. But yeah, reaching out to us anyway. We love to always just meet and talk, like you said, talk shop with others, and that's how we learn and grow and get better. So we appreciate you guys having us on here, and we're big fans of your podcast. And we know that you guys have several avenues, the Weaver Sales Academy, the podcast, just, ways that you're helping the insurance industry every day. So we appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. I have one last question before we wrap.
What's up?
How did two people from Georgia become Kansas City Chiefs fans?
That's a good question. So I've always loved football, college, NFL, whatever. And then here recently, my boys, my oldest, and then he came into it sooner. And then my middle son, and now, of course, our youngest is all about football. And so my oldest son, he's very analytical, like stats and things like that. So which I've always liked Mahomes too, but he just became a fan, like Mahomes is the best, here's what he does. And then when you go and you watch him and he's doing these Superman moves where he's not even looking and throwing it, and then you've got Kelsey, doing lateral. It's just, they're so fun to watch. And I had always been a Falcons fan just from being in Georgia. But they've let me down a good bit. And so, I still root for the Falcons, don't get me wrong. It's just become, as they have become bigger and bigger Chiefs fans, I have also become a bigger Chiefs fan as well.
Well, there could be worse teams to be fans of than the Kansas City Chiefs, baby.
It was a good team to start following because they've now won 2 Super Bowls. And it's funny because our oldest son, his brain is, this is what Mahomes is about to do. When this happens, this is what Mahomes does. When this happens, this is what and he likes that kind of prediction of what they're going to do, and so the boys honestly became Chiefs, like diehard Chiefs fans. And then last year we couldn't think of what to get our oldest for Christmas, so we said, how about Chiefs tickets? And we said, what are your 2 favorite teams? And he said, the Chiefs and the Bills. So we've followed those. We have followed those games. So last year it was in Kansas City, obviously, and then this year it was in Buffalo. So we have followed those two games.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like, because that's our tradition. We're going to every Chiefs Bills game for as long as we can the rest of our lives. So I'm sure we'll be seeing each other at the games.
Next year.
So
beside each other.
I love that your boys aren't having to suffer like we did being Falcons fans and Chiefs fans for a long time. But when they hit their 20s and we lose Mahomes, then the reality may sit in a little bit. But while the getting's good, we may well take this in, enjoy it. We have the best quarterback in the league. We have the best team. Look, Kansas City has a lot. We have the best barbecue, best football, best insurance training organization. Like, there's just a lot of best in Kansas City. You know what I mean? So.
I support. I checked through all of that.
And when we came, I loved it.
Kansas City was fun.
Yeah, that's probably been one of my favorite places to go. I mean, and not even just football related, but just overall one of my favorite places to go.
It was a good city.
Kansas City people are awesome.
I don't want to keep talking about how great Kansas City is because it kind of feels like our little secret up here.
Kansas
and like
City
the
is
cornfields,
great.
it's like, wait, no.
It is great. I'll give the Bills though. They got the tailgating. They are some serious tailgaters, like legit. I thought the tailgating in the Kansas City was legit, and it is. Kansas City tailgating is amazing. It's just different. I mean, in Buffalo, you all witnessed this. You have blocks for like a mile of people just tailgating in their front yard. I've just never experienced anything like that.
It's pretty cool. Just the whole dynamic of those games is something that I think everybody should experience if they can, because it's like a lifestyle. These people eat, sleep, and breathe their team.
Yeah.
Yep.
And it's really cool.
I have a goal that I want to go see a game at every stadium. All 32
Us too.
stadiums or whatever, however many there are. And
Yeah.
I will say that when we went to the Chiefs game in Kansas City, just experiencing the amount of passion from the fans, that sold me for life. It's just, and they were so nice.
So nice. So nice.
The people in front of us were season ticket holders. They just turned around and would just talk to us, tell us about various things, and it was just made everything that much more special.
Oh, my
That's
people.
awesome.
Yay.
I love it. Well, y'all, thank you so much for joining us today. For those of you who are tuning in right now, whether it's on the podcast or it's YouTube, thank you so much. As always, time and attention are by far our most important assets. We appreciate you spending time with us today on The Buzz. Go out, make it great. Kathy and Alic, thank you again.
Thank y'all.
Yes, thank you.